Let's get started. First thing I want to talk about is whether you want to go with a white or an off-white base. And since our skate here, which is our main focal piece, is already attached, I know that I'm going with white tones. So I want to be careful when I start to add in all my greens that I stay with more of a grayish tone and not a yellow tone. And I'll show you exactly what I mean. These are some pieces that I plan to add in. And if you notice, this one even has a white tip. So these definitely are going to give off more of a white tone than a gold or yellow tone. This piece here actually has a little bit of a yellowish tint. So if I add that in, that's going to lean more towards an off-white. If this was an off-white vintage skate, then I would tend to use something that had a little bit more of golden tones. So you just want to be careful with that as you start to work with your pieces, integrate different stems and then your ribbon, which we'll talk about as we begin to create this piece. I do want to stop here and just mention, typically when I'm working on a swag like this, I try to incorporate 3 or 4 different types of greenery. And what do I mean by that? Well, I've got a regular pine branch here. I've got some of these that are a different shape and texture. I've got something that's a little bit softer in texture. I also plan to add in, again, keeping with the white and the silver tones, some cascading branches. And what that does, you'll see when we're done with the end of the swag, it really brings the piece to life because of all the different textures and all the different types of leaves. I even am going to pull in a couple of these. They actually are almost like, they feel like a felt texture, and their leaf is completely different. And you could see just by me placing it in there what that's going to do to the piece. I've actually found some really good deals buying a garland. Walmart has one. If I can find the link, I will include it down below, but it's a mixture of all different types of greens. And then all I typically do is just separate it out, whether a lot of times it's hard and I have to actually cut them apart. But then you can put in the different types of branches separately where you would like them. And I always save these. Sometimes I end up using these pine branches because the quality isn't the best. They're my least favorite out of the garland. But a lot of times I'll use those to tie in another piece. I've got these that I got on clearance. I think it was at Michael's. They've got silver, looks like a snow on them, and they're going to add beautifully to the skate itself. I've also put in some icy branches. I've added this up here, which is tipped in white. I've got some more here and here. Another great tip, they sell these wreaths at Hobby Lobby. I got this 90% off. It was $8. Just because it's a wreath, you know, you can repurpose all of these. This is what I do. If I'm making little baskets or if I want to stick a twig somewhere, you simply just pull these off and you can add this to a wreath, a swag, a centerpiece. So, you know, don't forget to take this in mind when you're shopping their clearance as well, and think outside of the box. You could also, if you want something a little different, you could add in some eucalyptus, which is so popular now. And even you get something like this that's all together in a stem. It gives you more ideas to be able to incorporate. We're going to use this in this piece, and you'll see as we begin to create and get a little bit further how I incorporate it in. You always want to bend your stems. You want to try not to just leave them straight, because as I've said in some of my other videos, that's not how we find it out in nature. And my goal with my pieces is I want to try to make it as natural looking as possible. Okay, so because I have this heaviness up here now, I want to try to create some of that down below. So I'm going to put a branch down below to balance it. Then I've got a longer one that I'm going to put up here in the top. And my most important thing to me is blending. I don't want to see anything just looks like it's stuck in. I want to make it look as blended as possible in my pieces. What's so much fun about this is there's so many different ways that you could go. You could do red berries, and at the end of my video, I will insert a couple of pieces that have been very popular that I've done with red berries. So you could do the whole red theme all through winter. I also thought it would be cute to do a scarf instead of a bow. Use some wool material and add that in. Today, what I'm doing is I am going with this teal snowflake color. The person that I'm making this for has a yellow house, and so this is going to be beautiful, really pop on their door. One thing you want to keep in mind when you're making something for your door or for a lamp post, you got to realize that people are seeing it from a distance. So you want to make sure, it might at the time be, ooh, that's a little bold, a little much. But if you were to hang it up and step back and look at it, remember that there's a bit of a distance between you and where it's going to hang. And that's how people driving by or in your neighborhood are going to see it as well. So now, because I have this hanging down here, I'm thinking about maybe adding some right up in that area. One thing I do love about these swags is the way that you can attach things. So some of the classes that I've done, we haven't even used a glue gun. The participants have just used the actual pine stems to attach what they're adding in, and then you can swap it out next year, or even say you want to do something Valentine's Day. It's very versatile this way. Now here again, we have the white instead of the yellow and the gray. Do you see what a difference that makes? I want to add some of that in up here just to thicken up our piece a little bit, make it a little bit more substantial. I don't even think I need to glue that. I think that's insecure. Now, the reason why I'm taking this out, I don't want it to be completely straight across from the other piece. I want there to be a little bit of a break. Now, I did talk about adding, you could add some of these, but I like these icy branches a little bit better, so I'm going to stick with those. But I think just for the sake of the video, I will add in some eucalyptus so you can see what that looks like. Again, the reason why I like it, it's a different shape leaf. We don't have this yet in our piece. And again, I'm going to end up blending all of this. I might even cut a few of these off because I don't want it to look heavy. I want it to be airy. And again, I'm twisting the pine branch right around the eucalyptus, so I'm not even having to glue that in. That's already wired. And I think I'm going to put one down here and one over there. Because I definitely have to start working on bringing this bottom out, bringing the base out. I'm not quite sure how I want to do that yet. This is a great project for using up extra pieces that you have left over, because that, again, is what makes this look so pretty. You just have a variety. Now here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some down underneath and stick some through, and I'm going to end up weaving some of the other pine branches, again, just so it blends. And I think I'm going to put some of this different leaf. This almost looks like a cedar. Put this in here. See how I'm softening it all up by adding this other greenery? This has white, like a white tip on it that I don't really like. So I'm just going to snip the end, but I'm going to use the rest of the stem. And I think I want to bring just a little bit of that eucalyptus. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a long stem so I have the length to be able to stick it in behind, but then I'm going to snip several of these. I might even take off another once I get it in there. I just don't want it heavy, which sometimes this ends up. Yeah, I think what I'm going to do is end up putting it on the back. Just so you can barely see it. You know it's there. It's poking out underneath and through. And then I think I might do the same under here. Yep. Okay, now I still need some more in here. I have a nice branch here that I'm going to use. Okay, so at this point, what I think I'm going to do is I think I'm going to go ahead and make my bow, and then I'll come back. I turned the camera back on because I just want to mention something. First of all, this lighter colored ribbon, I had a very small amount. So I really had to think through how I was going to make my bow. But I wanted to show you my thought process, because a lot of times people will make a bow and they'll forget that they really ought to put it in their piece to see what the size of the loops are going to look like. Now, this is a 6 looped bow, but I'm really thinking I like the size that I have so far. So I've gone ahead and I've made 6 loops, and I'm going to keep it pinched. I'm probably going to use a pipe cleaner, and then I'll come back once I have that step. Okay, so I took my 6 looped bow, and all I've done is just wrapped it with the chenille stem. I wrapped it around a couple of the pine stems, and then once I'm done and I take the piece down off the easel and I lay it flat, I will go ahead and secure the bow even more. I just love these colors together. I think they just pop. Now, I left this long on purpose because what I plan to do is make a loop on this side. Let's see if we can find a pine branch. There's one here. And I'm simply just going to fold it over and I'm going to catch it in that pine branch. And then I'm going to pull it up and just try to make it look. I want to make it look, I don't want to make it, I want to make it look casual and natural. I don't want to make it look as if it's wrapped really tight. I want to make it look cascading, like it's cascading. That's the word I was looking for. I want to put it over here to the side. I do not want to hide the ice skate. So, trying to be aware of that. I like that. Then I have some of the silver berries from our eucalyptus bunches that I want. I have 3 of them. So I'm going to put one up here. And then I want to put I think another in here. No, I don't want it direct. I want it a little offset. I don't want it the same as that. So I think I'm going to put it in there. And then I'm not quite sure where I'm going to put this 3rd one. Maybe down in here. Don't want it to take away. I'm still playing with this. I'm not really happy with the way that that's looking. Might tighten that up a little bit. I'm not sure yet. Not quite sure where I'm going to put this last one. That's pretty over there. And again, that's what I love about creating a piece like this. It's always going to be a little different. You get to do it exactly how you want. Your own taste. Thinking about maybe making a loop with this for a bow. I'm really limited on ribbon here. But I'm thinking about putting, oh, that's pretty, another bow in there. So that's what I'm going to do. I think I'm going to tie it with this. I could do two. I could do a couple of loops if I wanted to of this, which would be pretty. Maybe I'll do that. And then I'm going to attach that up in there. Okay, so I have my Chanel stem, and I am working to get the bow the way I want. And I'm sorry I'm going to be in your way, but I'm going to put the bow right up in here. So I'm trying to feed the stem through the back. And I'm going to secure this just like I am the other one. Once I'm done and I flip it over, I'll secure this one as well. I'm just twisting it for now. And then I want to push that up in there like so. Bring this down here. That just adds a little bit more pop of color there against the white. And I think I'm going to trim this a little bit. I don't want it quite that long because I don't want it to hide the ice skate. Now, one thing I didn't mention, ice skates. I mean, you can find those yard sales, Facebook Marketplace, thrift shops. Okay, so now this is when I would step back and look at it. And if I'm happy with it, I would actually even put it on a door. And I'd look at it on probably my front door for a while, see what I would change or if I'm happy with the way things are with it. I'm just dovetailing all my ends. Take some photos and include, as promised, the other ice skate pieces that I've done. Some have been singles, some have been doubles with the red berries, blueberries. So I'll add that in. Thanks so much for watching. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, I wish you'd go ahead and do so. That just helps me get these creative ideas out to more people. And I'm really trying to build a creative community that just enjoys getting creative together.